From the darkest corners of the creepy old house down the street to the screams in the night. Settle in, Parafamily, to join with Whitney and Brandon for another spooky episode of the Para-Unity Podcast.
And good evening. Hello, Para family. Welcome to another episode of the Para Unity Podcast. I'm Whitney, and it's great to be with all of you tonight. For many of us in the United States, it is the week before the holidays. So from all of us to all of you, we wish you the joyous holiday season, whatever you celebrate. What a year, huh? 2023 has been kind of a train wreck, but there's been a lot of good things too. So if any of you want to share some of the things that you've loved about 2023, not just in the paranormal or on the show, but also with anything else going on in your part of the world, go ahead and type it into our Facebook page. We'd love to hear more about you guys and what you like, and hopefully we can keep our family growing. So, unfortunately, for the third time in a row, I love you, Brandon, my paranormal brother from another mother. Brandon has been having a lot going on with him physically, but we wish him well. He will be back with us in the new year, and hopefully we will all stay sane. Oh boy, life. Anyway, so we have the chat open. So if you have questions for our guest tonight, feel free to pop your questions into the chat, and I'll see if I can make and remember, keep it clean and keep it appropriate. So far, you've all been very well behaved. So I'm very appreciative of that. This is going to be our last episode before the holiday season, but we will be back with a new episode on January 15th, I believe is what it is. And we'll be going strong clear until May. So we'll have a cool lineup for you guys. Stay tuned. Keep an eye on our socials. I promise I'm going to be a lot better at updating our social media, but stay tuned. You never know what we're going to find. So on that, let's go ahead and get into tonight's guest. Tonight, we're going to welcome a gentleman that I have met recently. His name is Adam Glider Bonnett. It's either Bonnett or Burnett. I think it's Bonnett. He is not Lisa Bonet. I loved Lisa Bonet when I was a kid. I wanted to be just like her. Anyway, that was a horrible thing to say, but anyway. Adam, I met him I believe the first time I met him was at a place where I've met so many wonderful people in the paranormal, St. Albans Sanatorium, which I think that's going to become its own episode. So stay tuned for that. Quick background about Adam, and he'll definitely fill us in on this. He is a motivational speaker and a paranormal investigator, calling himself the rolling trigger object. He uses a wheelchair due to being paralyzed from a condition called transverse myelitis. But in addition to his amazing persona, he's also created a character called Glider, who is a ghost using a wheelchair. And we'll just have to ask Adam to tell us more about Glider when he joins us. So Adam is from Camden, West Virginia, which is an unincorporated area of Lewis County, West Virginia, located about 5.5 miles outside of Weston, Virginia. Weston is the county seat with a population of 3,943 people, according to the 2020 U.S. Census. Weston was founded in 1818, and at the time it was called Preston. Later on, it was renamed Weston by 1819. For a long time, West Virginia was part of the greater territory of Virginia. Hey, before the American Revolution, Virginia covered a wide swath of land. It was not just the state of Virginia, it was West Virginia, Kentucky, Ohio, Illinois, even up to the lower peninsula of Michigan. It was a big area at the time. And I don't think many people realize that, but that's okay. That's okay. West Virginia is pretty cool. I've been there skiing before. I've been to a snowshoe. It was pretty cool. Anyway, later, Weston, West Virginia was incorporated as a city in 1845. And there are lots of historic areas in Weston. There are 2 historic districts. There's one that's the Weston Downtown Historic District, and then the Weston Downtown Residential Historic District. There's also a childhood home of Stonewall Jackson, if you're into Civil War history. It's called Jackson's Mill, and it's located 4 miles away from Weston. Another cool attraction there is the Museum of American Glass in West Virginia. I will find the website for that, and I will post it in the show notes so you can check it out. It sounds pretty cool. But if you're a regular fan of haunted locations and paranormal TV shows and everything else in between, Weston, West Virginia is going to sound familiar to you. It is the home of the Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Now, Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum has a fantastic website. I will put it up in the show notes so you can really dive into the history that they provide. But in a nutshell, from my limited understanding, the site is over 160 years old. And from what I could see, it dominates the landscape, both physically and supernaturally. It is a National Historic Landmark, and it's significant for being the largest hand-cut stone masonry building in North America. And I think it's the second oldest in the world, the second largest in the world. Construction began in 1858, and the hospital officially opened its doors in 1864. It was meant to follow what's called the Kirkbride Plan. And if you're familiar with the construction of mental hospitals back in the 19th century, this is a plan that you will see in places such as Danvers up in Massachusetts. This particular style is characterized by long wings and connected structures, and it's supposed to maximize sunlight and fresh air. And they were also really trying to make sure that the patients that came in were treated humanely and were treated as residents rather than patients. But by the 1950s, the patients were suffering from overcrowded conditions. The original hospital was meant to accommodate 250 patients, but by the 1950s, it peaked to over 2,400 people. It did close its doors in 1994 due to the building deteriorating, and also there were changes to the approaches to mental health care. There still are changes to approaches in mental health care. Don't even get me started. That's a whole story for another time. But again, if you're a fan of the paranormal, then you've heard a lot of the stories regarding Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum. Paranormal activity and claims, they run the gamut from apparitions, shadow figures, noises and voices, people being touched, and everything in between. And there are lots of stories behind the hauntings. I personally can't speak with any authority about any of them because I've actually never been to Trans-Allegheny, and I also have never looked at any research on it. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what Adam has to say, because Adam has been there frequently. So we'll let him help us shine a light on some of these narratives. So my friends, yes, and we have Ronnie Anderson in the chat tonight. Good evening, Ronnie. Ronnie is from Bedford Paranormal, which actually will be a guest sometime in the new year. Yay! So in any case, my friends, Parafamily, far and wide, let us welcome Adam Glider Bonnett to the show. Welcome, Adam. How are you tonight?
I'm good. How are you?
I am fabulous now that you're here.
Cool.
And also, I could stop talking to myself. Oh my God.
Yep.
Yeah. Adam, I think we did meet for the first time at St. Albans. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe that was it. Yep. I believe so.
Yeah, like a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Yep.
You just made me so, I was just so fascinated by your positive spirit, and you're so calm.
Yep.
In such a busy and enthusiastic field. So I knew I had to get you to come on to the show. So Adam, we're just going to let's start with the basics.
Okay.
How did you get involved into the paranormal? Yes, we are nerds, Ronnie. Thank you.
What's up, Ronnie? Well, it's kind of a I don't know, it's kind of a unique story, like you were saying earlier. The area I'm in, the location, had an opportunity to actually work at Trans Allegheny. So I was there for, I think it was 7 years, 6.5, 7 years, something like that. So I kind of had that to, just kind of hone in on some things and do a lot of investigating there, and just kind of went from there into just exploring everywhere else. I found it really interesting, like from my perspective, my point of view and stuff. With the situation I'm in, I pretty much expanded from there. I found interest in it because I got to the point that I was just like everyone else. I wanted to know more about what we don't know. And it was just intriguing. It piqued my interest, and I just went from there and just kind of went crazy and went with it. So
we all go crazy, don't we?
Well, yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Ronnie also says, keep on rolling, glider. And I know that is one of your big sayings is your rolling trigger object. You keep on rolling.
It's
so
right.
What exactly does that mean for you to be a rolling trigger object? What does that mean?
Well, it's kind of funny because it's weird. I've learned to use myself as a trigger object. Now, what I mean by that is, if there's certain situations, certain locations that I go to, I will go into the place. For example, if I go into a hospital or something like that, I'll go into it, and I'll go into areas and be like, I'm no different than you. Can you, help me open a door? Or, I'm not able to go through the door by myself. Will you open the door for me? Stuff like that. I've used that in multiple locations, and just different things to where I use myself to try to get anything going, and it's worked out pretty decent sometimes, because there's other places that I can get activity where other people cannot. I don't want to say it's the relevance of my situation relating, but it's kind of worked that way, so it's just, in that perspective, that's pretty much how I claim it. So yep.
If you don't mind, if you feel comfortable doing so, can you tell us a little bit more? What is transverse myelitis exactly?
Okay. In my situation, at 13 months of age, I had a ear infection. The ear infection spread to the spinal column. It, back it whenever I was diagnosed with it and everything, at that time, no one knew exactly what the situation was or what the cause of it was. And with being that young, I went from hospital to hospital to hospital.
Mhm.
And eventually, by the time they figured out what it was and what it is just in my situation, the infection spread, deteriorated nerves in the spine. And
Okay.
it pretty much, at that point, whenever they figured out what it was, there was no reversing anything. Um, Steroids would have been too late, things like that. So,
Mm.
but that's pretty much what it is. Just pretty much an infection or a viral infection that affects the nerves, stem cells, or not stem cells, but spinal column, things like that. So, yep.
Okay. Thank you for
Oh,
thank
yeah.
you for letting us, because it
Yep.
is always something to just be
Yeah.
mindful and to raise awareness about too. That's kind of yeah, thank you for that.
Yep. Yep.
So using yourself as kind of a trigger object and, actually interacting with the spirits as if they were human beings, which is a
Right.
very important thing. What
Yes.
else is a tool that you like? What is a tool that you do like to use during investigations?
Um, I mean, my biggest thing is, I'm a sensitive person.
Yes,
I
you are.
love I love anything like that, but equipment wise, I'm definitely a voice recorder, a flashlight, just any regular K2 meter, things like that. I'm a basic type person, the lights and stuff's all flashy, but I go straight back to regular stuff. And I love the noises, commands, ask on commands, knocks, things like that. So that's pretty much it.
Keep it to the basics.
Yep, definitely so. Definitely so. Less than influence.
What is okay? So because I'm okay, so we both have a great love for St. Albans Sanatorium in
Yes.
Bradford, Virginia. And of course, we've got Ronnie on
Yeah.
the chat right now,
Yeah.
who's his group, Bedford Paranormal, that's
Yeah.
practically their second home.
Yes.
What was it about St. Albans? Had you heard of St. Albans before I saw you that first time? Or what is your history with St. Albans Sanatorium?
I was there, I think, a couple times before that, if I remember right, before we met and everything.
Okay.
I've heard about it for a long time, but just, whenever I was here working at Trans Allegheny and stuff, it was hard to get away because generally the weekends you're working and stuff. So
Oh yeah, don't I know it?
yeah, so it was always hard to get away. But throughout that time, it's it's weird. I don't know. I don't want to say it's weird, but whenever you are working at a haunted location or a popular attraction, you hear a lot of different. You meet a lot of people, so you get to talk to a lot of people, and you get a chit chat about, oh, this is a cool place. This is a cool place, and I've heard about St. Albans for a while before that.
Mm.
And it was kind of weird that I don't know. It's just I heard about St. Albans, and then obviously they have the bowling alley.
Oh
So
yes.
yeah, so that was one of my big attractions for myself, was because I wanted to go down there and check out the bowling alley and stuff like that. And so I just got down there, met everyone down there, met Marcel and everyone, and
Hmm.
it was just it's just like family when you go down there. It's
Absolutely.
so welcoming. Everyone's top notch, so it's just very enjoyable for myself. I just love going down there.
I do too. I do
Yep.
too.
Yep.
I'll get back with you later because I'm working on a book about it. But Ronnie also says, of course, you were a speaker at every year that they hosted Enigma Cons,
Yes. Yeah.
and of course, Enigma Cons is a event that ran at St. Albans
Yeah.
Sanatorium for about 6 to 7 years.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
I mean, I think Enigma Cons is something that brought a lot of us
It,
together.
it was definitely.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I know some friends of our show have actually went back up to St. Albans not too long ago. So
Yeah. Yep.
it's one of those places.
It
And
was.
and as a transition, because that's what I do. Let's talk about Trans-Allegheny, because we hear about it all the time on, it's been all the major TV shows.
Yes.
It is a huge part of that history, but you spend so much time there. So I'm looking forward to hearing more of your takes on the building, the paranormal there, the history. So
Yeah.
what was it that brought you to Trans-Allegheny in the first place?
Well, I grew up the next town over, so it was like, I don't know, 15 miles away from the area here.
Mm.
And I remember growing up as a child, you would drive through Weston and this hospital was there, so everyone was, it was kind of weird because you would be young and you would drive around and there would be patients out in the yard,
Yeah.
so it was unique driving by there as a child because, whenever you was young, your parents would be like, if you don't straighten up, we want to send you out to the hospital, the crazy house,
That's right, because it was still open and in
Yeah.
operation during your childhood.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
So,
That's right. For just to clarify, everybody, the hospital itself closed in 1994, if that's
yes,
correct. Okay.
yes, yep.
All right.
So, just growing up around, and then, like I said, I had the opportunity to. It was kind of cool because I started out working at the haunted house there. Now, the haunted house was in a separate building, not the main building. So
Okay.
it was kind of cool. And then somehow, some way, it just transpired into me working inside the main building. I started out just, it was cool. I got to go in there and roll around and just, look at things and explore, and things started making noises, and you would hear noises in there and couldn't explain it. You try to figure it out. And that was always the fun part, because, for example, you would be there doing an investigation with a group of people and you close the building. Generally the public would leave at 5 in the morning, I think it was. It's been years since I was there, but
Right.
I think they closed it like 5 in the morning or something like that. So after 5 in the morning, things started making noises. You would hear footsteps on the upper floors, and there was just, all kind of noises you would hear. I've heard screams in there. I've heard women screaming.
Mhm.
Go to open up the door, look down the halls, no one there, But it just kind of led to opportunities from there, and generally, if you're given an opportunity, you take that opportunity and turn it into something positive, So that's pretty much how I done it. And it just kind of went crazy, I guess, So it gave me opportunities to do a lot of things. So
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. What was your first experience at Trans-Allegheny? Do you remember?
oh gosh, here's it's kind of weird. Okay, so one of the things that actually where I got the nickname Glider and stuff,
Hmm.
um, whenever I first started there, I was going down to check on groups and stuff. And whenever I would go down to check on groups, I would go into Ward, because it would go down Ward 1 and then go back and transition into 4. So I would go down to Ward 4 to go check on groups. And as I was going down through, because it would just be me, just rolling down the hallways, I would start getting like this heaviness feeling on me. it would go from that to footsteps I would hear walking behind me. Um, Eventually, there was a gentleman one night that come in. I didn't have a clue who the gentleman was. He asked if he could follow me around that night. I was like, that's fine. If you can keep up with me, I said, let's go. So as we're going down through, I kept noticing that he was stopping at different doors and stuff. And I would hear him talking, but I didn't know what he was up to. Long story short, at the end of the night, he come up to me and he says, can I talk to you for a few minutes? I said, yeah. I said, that's fine. He says, you probably noticed, he says, whenever we was going down through the wards and stuff, he says, I would stop at different doors. And I said, yeah. I said, I noticed that. And he says, well, he says, as I was going down through there, he says, I kept, stopping at each door. He says, and I kept hearing the words glide. I was like,
Oh.
that's unique, I
Hmm.
didn't know the guy at all, didn't have a clue who he was, what he'd done, etc. He says, I could sense that whenever you was going down through, you had issues or something was bothering you. And he says, we was going down through, he says, I just kept hearing those words, glide, 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 glide. He said, so, huh?
Interesting.
Yes. I thought it was very interesting, especially whenever he told me that, the next time I'm going down through there, just kind of stop and, just make conversation. He says, you might look crazy talking to, no one there. He says, but he says, just start having a conversation. He says, one of the unique things is that the wheelchair that I have is low to the ground and it has a low back on it. And for example, the asylum setting here, that it would have consisted of the old wooden wheelchairs, which have the high backs on them and the higher seats off the ground,
That's
He
right.
says, so whenever you're going down through there, it looks like you're gliding across the floor. I was like,
Ah.
He says, so anytime that you have these issues, just stop. And like I said, just talk. So one night I was going down through there and it started happening again. It just felt like somebody was right on top of me and right behind me. So one of what they call the day rooms, which is just a room off of the main wing.
Mhm.
I was going down through there and it started happening and I just kind of stopped and was like, I said, I guess it's time that we have a talk, So I went over to the day room. I sat there and I was like, I said, I don't know what's going on. I said, but I can tell you that I'm no different than you. We could probably relate in many ways, So just kind of if you have anything that you want to say to me or anything like that, let me know. And I said, I'm just here to talk to you and get to know you. And it was kind of weird because after that situation, ever since then, I never had issues. In that area itself, I could get, there was times that my guides would come and ask me to come down to that area to try to get something going on. I could go down there, not have an issue. I could get K2s to go off, things like that. So it was really neat. But ever since then, it's kind of where I got the nickname Glider. That's also where I got my little logo, which I don't have it anywhere around here somewhere.
That's okay. I'll actually show a picture of it in the show notes, but for a quick description, it looks like a standard little ghost with wheels on either side of it.
Yes, and a footrest. Yep.
That is so cute.
Just took a little ghost and just put wheels on him and little footrest and wrote Glider across it, got it copyrighted and everything like that. So pretty awesome. I just kind of used that and I use that as like whenever I do speaking and things like that, if anyone asks me or if I'm set up at a event or something, I use it to, kind of signify myself and others with disabilities or situations like myself that, it's anything's possible. You can just put a little motivation into it. And I mean, that's my thing. Nothing, I don't let nothing slow me down or stop me. So just got to keep on going. That's why I come up with it's how I roll, you know?
Yeah.
So
And keep on rolling.
that's right. Yep. That's true.
Well, I will tell you, your little glider ghost is so
Yeah.
cute.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
He is pretty cool. In a
Yep.
way, is he almost like your alter ego in a way?
I guess you could say that. Yeah, it's like my Superman. So yeah.
Aww.
Yep.
I think kids would like him too.
Definitely.
So you mentioned that you do motivational speaking. What are some of the topics that you talk about?
Well, mainly not giving up. I know that I've been faced with a lot of things, but fortunately for me, I grew up in that situation already. So, anything that I dealt with, it's a little different than somebody that might be adapted into it or had that issue happen later on in life.
Got it. Yeah.
I know for a fact, one of the things that kind of got me to a few ways of what I do now, with not only paranormal, but being a motivational person is I want to inspire others. I was shopping once, I forget what it was, but I noticed a gentleman kept following me around inside the store, and I wasn't sure what he was up to, but he was in a wheelchair also. Um, Eventually, he approached me, and it was kind of very sad to me. It kind of caught my heart because he came up to me and he was like, he says, "Can I ask you something?" I said, "Sure." He says, "How do you do it?" I was like, "What do you mean?" Because again, in my situation, I've dealt with it my whole life. He's like, "Well," he says, he explained to me his problem, and he was probably 4 years into it, and he just had a really hard time trying to, you know, get used to it or adapt to it. There's a lot of things that he wasn't aware of, things like that. It's like I told him, I said, you can't give up. I said, you look for something else. I mean, put up here's where you need to go. Just keep striving for that spot. And by the time that him and I got done talking, he was pretty amazed with some of the things that I told him, that he's able to do or things that he needs to try to do and stuff like that. So definitely, but like I said, I try to inspire people. I want to make others in my situation know that it doesn't matter. You can still do a lot of things. And I mean, I, for example, am one of them that I never thought I'd be in the situation or the position I'm in. So, but I enjoy it. I love it. And I love talking to people. So it's just, it's fun.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Definitely.
Yeah. And I know you like hanging out with people at the at paranormal sites and locations. Yeah, absolutely. So aside from so getting back to Trans-Allegheny for a moment, so we know that there are a lot of stories.
Yes.
We know that for anybody that's watched the TV shows, we hear about shadow figures and creepers. We also hear a very tragic story involving a patient that was murdered quite brutally by another patient. And it's just a devastating story, and the claims that come from that. So I think maybe what might be interesting is maybe give us your take on some of the more popular stories involving Trans-Allegheny and some of the experiences that you've had or that you've heard others having.
I know that there's, I mean, the history, um, there was a lot of tragedy there. There's a lot that a person probably doesn't even know about or aware of, you know. Um, I know there's nights that I've been in there and there's things that just there's some nights it's just like any other haunted location though.
Right.
Um, it's either I mean there's nights that I've been in there and nothing happens. There's some nights that you go in there and it's just off the wall. Um,
Mhm. Oh yeah.
but just the history and I mean the tragedy that was there. There's tons of things that I've experienced there. I can say that. The shadow activity, 100%.
Oh yeah.
I've seen, I've seen apparitions there. I've chased people that are not there. I mean, just you know, I remember I used to go over during the day also and just hang
Okay.
out and you know I would follow some of the historic tours and stuff. And one of the things that was kind of weird about it one day was, which I'm sure it's happened quite often, is they would do a head count on how many people they would have in their tour.
Oh, right.
So let's say that day they had 10 people on one tour. Well, you would get down through the wards and stuff, and the guide would be in the front, and people would be following. And I would follow along, and all of a sudden you would count 11 or 12 people. So you go around the corner and there's no one there besides the 10 people that was just originally there, you know. Um, at one time, I know that we dealt with mimicking. We would hear one of
Mm.
our guides that we know was upstairs, but we would hear them down on the first floor. Just from like it would sound like you're going down through the ward and you would hear hey Adam or hey whoever, um, whenever you know for a fact that they're upstairs.
Wow.
I done a private investigation once with me and a guide, and I think it was 6 or 7 people. I know the guide does a floor tour, takes them on a full floor tour. So I knew at that time they went down the first floor. I followed them down the first floor. They went upstairs. I went back to the break room to fill out some paperwork and stuff. And I knew that he should have been up about the third, going on the fourth floor or something like that. And I was sitting there and it was quiet. And I heard the loudest female scream I've ever heard.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
went down to the first floor door, opened up the door, looked down through there with the flashlight. There was no one there. I texted my guide that night, asking where he was, if he still had all of his people. And he was up on the fourth floor finishing the tour. So I was like, well, this is going to be a good night because I told him, I just heard that scream and he's like, yeah, it wasn't us. So, but
Wow.
it's very, very interesting, you know.
And
Things,
there's multiple buildings on the campus,
yes,
right?
yes,
How
yep.
many of them are actually open to investigation?
Um, now I don't know.
Right. Yeah.
But whenever I was there, we had the main building, we had the forensics building, geriatrics building, and the medical building.
Okay.
So, yep,
Yeah.
yep,
Once again, folks, I will post the Trans Allegheny website onto our show notes so that way you guys can get the most up to date information possible. Whew,
yep,
I mean, it's pretty amazing.
yep.
So turning over to the chat for a moment, we have Chris Sprouse who posted that he remembers people being at Trans Allegheny when he was a kid. Um, similar to you.
Yep.
We have a
Yep.
young lady named Heidi that says Trans-Allegheny is on her bucket list. And indeed, it does have the reputation of being one of the top haunted sites in the United States, if not the world. Tina Fleury, friend of the show, says, hi, y'all. Hi, Tina. And Ronnie mentioned that he got poked in the back by something that seemed to be a child. Is that a common phenomenon?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
It is. Yep.
Sounds
So
like you got to watch your step. Literally.
definitely. Yes. Yep. Yes. I know me and his name's Greg, but we call him Copperhead.
I know Copperhead, yes.
Yeah, him and I worked there together, and it was kind of funny because there's a little girl spirit there named Lily. So one night, him and I was going down to lock up the building after it closed and everything. So we have to go down and lock up the doors and stuff. And I forget what it was that night. She was very active. She was interacting with a lot of people and stuff like that. And as we was coming back up through, going past her area, or maybe we was going down. Yeah, we was going down. As we went down to lock up, we was talking, and we was like, Lily, if you want to play a game tonight, and says we can play a game. How about we play a game of hide and seek? And I know it to this day, him and I probably regret it. So
Oh, no.
yeah, because on the way back after we locked up the doors and everything, we started back up through the ward. And as you come up through there, the doors are all open to the rooms and stuff. So
Okay, so that's a common setup. Okay.
Yes, yeah. So as we're coming back up through there, we're just talking like we normally do, just chit chatting, and we're going up through there, and all of a sudden I seen Greg jump, and I just happened to turn at the same time, and it was so funny because from what he described he's seen, it was a little girl standing right behind a door, and just caught him as we're going up through, caught him off to the side, so. But that was very interesting that night. I can't really explain everything like that, but it happened, So
it just sounds like it's one of those places.
oh yeah, definitely. So
It's with you. So I know so obviously Trans-Allegheny.
Yeah.
You've got St. Albans.
Yep.
What are some other haunted sites that you've been to that really stick out to you?
Old South Pittsburgh Hospital.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. I was there years ago, years and years ago.
Oh, when it was still kind of not.
Yes. Yeah. And still had the car inside of it and everything like that. So.
Oh my gosh.
Yep. It was kind of. Yep. You know exactly what I mean.
I do, and I think most of our para family probably gets it too.
Yep.
Oh boy. Have you been back since?
No. No. I haven't had a chance to go back there since. So it was different. So
you never know.
Yep.
That's cool. What's another place that's really stuck out to you?
Another one of my favorites is Moundsville, of course, just because it's localized. Ooh. So,
local is good.
But then again, I've traveled all the way to California too. So it's Preston Castle in California. I got to go there.
Yes, so, I've heard. Yes.
Yeah. It's an amazing place.
That's a really beautiful building.
Oh, it is. It really is.
And I know it takes that one. Talk about some of these buildings that have been deteriorating.
Right.
That people are working on trying to. That one is an undertaking.
Yes.
Preston's Castle's huge.
It is. Yep.
Wow.
And it's so pretty. I mean, it was so beautiful, So I love Gettysburg, of course, is one of my favorite places. Love Gettysburg. That's the whole thing, I've done a lot of places just trying to what sticks out to me, So
it's like picking your favorite child.
yeah, it's hard.
It is hard.
Yep. But I don't know. I'll investigate anywhere. Hillview Manor. I love Hillview. Hillview is one of my favorite places. Um, I don't know. It's just amazing. I want to get this. What is it? I want to get to Sweet Springs sometimes.
I know quite a few people we know quite a few people who've been there. I think that's actually on my list too.
Yeah.
Hey, we could do a road trip.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah.
Take
me to Sweet Springs.
Right.
Someone.
What's the other one? What's the one in Williamson? Hospital in College Hill?
Oh yeah, the old hospital on Old College Hill. Yeah, that's actually seen a lot of traffic recently.
It has,
the last couple of years.
I think Ronnie and I and Bedford was. I'm not for sure. Ronnie was we the second group in there. I think it was.
Ronnie, if you know, please let us know. He's still active in the chat. And also welcome to Beth Allen, who's another friend of the show, and Gail Williams. Good to see you guys. We've missed you. We have a lot of friends. Yes, Bedford was the second.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I couldn't remember, but yeah.
Thanks, Ronnie.
I really enjoy investigating with Bedford. They're great people. So.
We hope, and so far scheduling is still working out. We're actually going to get them on the show in the new year. So, yay!
Yep.
Yay! Oh yeah, Ronnie said they went right after Destination Fear.
That's right. Yep. That
must have been entertaining.
Yeah. Oh, we had fun that night.
Oh, it sounds like that's a really interesting. I actually almost had I almost was able to go there, but I can't remember. Oh yeah, I canceled because I had broken my foot.
Oh, yep.
And walking around in a boot and driving to West Virginia with a boot on is not my idea of a good time.
Right.
So, but it's in the cards. I will get there. We are practically neighbors. And you're right, Ronnie. Bedford and Adam are family, and we're all family here.
Yep.
Adam, what do you think? What, in your opinion, because a lot of the buildings that you've visited, a lot of the sites have been hospitals, mostly former hospitals. What do you think is the appeal to going to old hospitals and investigating in places like that?
What do you mean?
Well,
like
some people I know people have a lot of reasons to want to go to hospital. There's something that attracts people to see to going there. What do you think might be, in your opinion?
Well, I mean, that's just a lot of things happen in those facilities. It's a lot that I know from my experience, the reason I go to I've investigated hospitals. I've had a range of things that I've investigated. So from prisons to hospital to asylums to boys' homes. It's each one of them has a different realm or reason. Each one has a different perspective, we all go in anyways to figure out the same thing, trying to figure out the unknown, have experiences, try to understand what's going on, Ronnie just pretty much covered it, so history standpoint,
history is so huge.
It is. If you don't have the history, you don't have what we're after,
exactly.
History makes it. So
and sometimes with hospitals, it's hard to get some of that history when it comes to stories of patients because of the HIPAA protections on primary sources. That's an issue I ran into with researching my book on eugenics, actually, and also researching St. Albans. But you can pretty much go back and look at other secondary sources about what were these places like at a certain time period, and
Right.
how might that reflect on what we may be experiencing.
Yes. Correct. I agree with you. I mean, there's like you said, the HIPAA stuff,
Yeah.
and things like that. It's um
Which honestly is totally fine with me,
yeah,
but it can be annoying when you're like, oh, I want to find this out.
yeah, yep.
But you gotta know
You got
when to cut your losses.
right. Yep. Yep. That's true. Yep.
I'll have
So
to show you some of the stuff I've gathered sometime.
yeah, yeah. That's what
So,
I
yeah.
that's what I love about Gettysburg too. I mean, it's
Mm.
so full of history, and there's so much loss and death and things there. So it's just yep.
Yep, Gettysburg definitely strikes a chord, and
Right.
it's so much about it too. It's not just also the Civil War history,
Right.
although that's the most dominant
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But it's a town.
It
People
is.
lived there and still continue.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, Ronnie pointed out about one of the big source, and this is actually a primary source I have been using in my research for my book. So from the time when St. Albans was a boys' school, they had the yearbooks. They're fun to flip through. You can actually find them in the special they've put most of them online now at Radford University in their special collections library. You can go up and find them. And yes, there's some problematic elements in some of those yearbooks. And there were a few things I read that made me raise my eyebrow, i.e., racism and all that stuff. But it's fascinating to look through because you get that snapshot in these
Right.
boys' lives. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
like I said, we need to have a whole episode on St. Albans. I'll get a panel. It'll
There
be
you go.
Bedford Paranormal and everyone.
Yep.
So what would be some things that what are some tips and tricks? Because at the end of the day, we all want to learn from each other.
Yes.
So what are some of the tips and tricks that you have to share in your experiences?
I mean, the obvious, be open, go in, if you're thinking that it's like we've told people whenever we do investigations and stuff, if you go in with a closed mind, that's probably all that you're going to get, you know. Be open, be understanding, and one of the major things that I've always learned is please, thank yous, be courteous. I mean, in my situation, I've dealt with a lot of what we would consider, mentally disturbed patients. Even after death, I'm sure there's still mentally disturbed, possibly. So just being courteous with the please thing. I've gotten a lot of reactions or answers to voice recorders from just please, thank yous, all kind of things like that. I'm all about courtesy. I'm a polite person, so it's like, it just, if you put off that positive vibe, you're going to have positive influence, and that's kind of the way I see it. So, but you know I don't know, I'm not a fearful person either, so if I see the darkest hallway or whatever it is, I want to be the first one down it, just to sit down there for a long time.
Yay!
And yep. Yep. And that's what's kind of weird too with me being in my situation. I'm very quiet, so no one hears me coming or anything like that, so I can just kind of sneak down in certain areas, and I've accidentally scared people quite a lot. So
Yeah,
yep.
I've heard about that.
Yep.
Naughty,
So
naughty, naughty.
yeah, it just happens. And then I'm also a person that doesn't like to use flashlight a lot. I'd like my eyes to focus. So
Okay.
yeah. So I mean, just go in, do it, enjoy it. It's like I have a TikTok, and one of my followers asked me, what advice I would give them, for a first time investigator. And that was, pretty much, just go in, do it, enjoy it, experience it. If you like it, do it again. If you don't like it, So,
Absolutely.
yep.
Oh, I love that. And of course, Ronnie is following up by saying, remember, there are no experts, and
That's right.
be
That's
open to other people and other teams. And that's why you're awesome. Aw, we've got a love fest going on here, but that's what makes us.
well,
That's what makes us what we are. We
it,
love our family, and we all
yeah.
want to share.
Kind of a funny fact though with me and Ronnie is I have a personalized shirt that, well, Ronnie has it too, but I kind of, what was it? It says something like, it shows. I'm trying to remember exactly what it is. It's a guy laying down with a guy in a wheelchair rolling over top of him, and it and it, and it says, what does that say? Something about investigate with glider. Something. I can't remember exactly what it is. What is that, Ronnie? Because the reason for that is, I might have accidentally rolled over Ronnie once during an investigation,
Oh,
like literally. Yeah.
oops.
It was a funny story. We was trying to go up a set of steps and it didn't, it just kind of happened. So,
It just didn't quite work out the way you guys intended.
right. Yep.
Oh boy. Oh, here we go.
Yeah, that's it. If you don't see a ghost glider, we'll make one.
Oh my gosh.
So it was
Great
so funny.
t-shirt.
Yeah.
Great. That's wonderful. I have to admit, oh man, Adam, you've been so great. You're our final guest of 2023.
Awesome.
So that's an awesome way to kind of end with celebration and positivity.
Yes.
So where can people find you on the socials?
Okay. Oh man, I'm everywhere.
Yes, you are.
My Facebook, obviously, Adam Bonnett. I have a different page also, Adam Glider Bonnett on Facebook. I have YouTube, which is Glider Paranormal. I have a website, which is www.the-glider.com. It pretty much covers a lot of my motivational stuff and things like that, and my investigating, where I'll be and things like that. So,
Yeah. And
Yep.
if anyone is into TikTok, they'll find you on TikTok.
Oh, yeah.
And also Bonnett spelled B-O with 2 N's and 2 T's.
Yes.
Yes.
Correct. Yep. Yeah.
Got my bad joke about Lisa Bonet, but I did want to be here when I was
all good. It's all good. It's so weird. Like, I've been called Alan before for Adam. I've been called Alex. I've been called Jim.
Jim.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know either. Yeah.
I mean, at least add Alan and
Right.
Alex. Start with it. Okay.
I'm just the kind of guy that goes with the flow anyway. So I'll just answer whatever. So
that is awesome. And what are you doing next? Where can, if people want to meet you in person, what's up next?
I think I haven't really done much planning for next year yet. I kind of noticed this year that I got my schedule a little full with everything else.
You and so many other people I know.
Yep. Like, I try to do events, and then on top of that, I started racing go-karts and stuff. So, yep. So my weekends were quite busy, and then trying to plan in between everything between racing and events. And, but I think my first event for next year is in Gettysburg, I believe. I think I have an investigation at the Hoover House.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, I'd like to start doing more, public investigations with people and stuff like that. I love events, but it's just, events is fun, but you don't get to investigate as much as you used to. So
There's
yeah,
a lot in events. There's a
yes. And then I think after that, I start back at Parapsychon at OSR. That's another one of my favorites, Ohio State.
lot.
So,
Okay.
yep.
Ohio State Reformatory, ladies
Yep.
and gentlemen.
Yep. So
Man,
I think,
you're hitting the Titans.
oh, I'm telling you, I've spoke at I think Parapsychon for since it started too. So I
Nice.
really just last couple of years I just decided to just be a guest there and just do the table thing and meet and greet and just have fun. It's all about talking to people and I enjoy it. So
Perfect. Well,
yep,
we'll make sure to put all of your contact information, the website, the
yeah,
socials
yeah,
in the show notes,
yep,
and you all can follow him and see how he rolls,
yep,
literally.
yeah, literally.
And also, as Bronny said, that's how he rolls. So, guys, on behalf of myself and Brandon and all of the Para family, we wish you all the happiest of holiday seasons. Take care of each other, enjoy it, and just spread a little love, no matter what you celebrate. And Adam, thank you, Adam Glider Bonnet. Thank you for being on the show tonight. It was so great. And
Yep.
now I have to do our little outro, which I always mess up. So have fun. Here we go, guys. Thank you for listening to the Para Unity podcast. And if you listen to us via Apple Podcasts, don't forget to leave a rating of 5 stars or leave a review. And believe me, we do read the reviews. They're very helpful. They get more people to find our show. And it also gives us feedback so we can make the show better. You can also find us on Google Podcasts. You can play us on Android, or if you're so inclined, you can say, Alexa, play Para Unity Podcast. And believe me, it works. And I'm always tickled by that. If you want to join us on the show sometime, if you are a part of a group, if you're a writer, a podcaster, a tour guide, anything in between, and you've been involved in the paranormal and you have something to share, let us know. You can contact us on our Facebook. We also have our Gmail email account, and we also have Instagram. And let us know. Who knows? Also, stop by our website and buy us a coffee. Unfortunately, it's not a real coffee, but that's okay. By the way, also check out the coffee from our friends at Haunted Happy Hour Podcast, because it is divine. If you ever get a chance to see them, try it. It's delish. But anyway, I thank all of our guests that have visited us during 2023 and beyond. You guys are all awesome. And on that happy note, I'm Whitney, and that's Adam right over here. And also, Brandon, we love you. And you've been with us to at the best place to bring our paranormal family a little closer together, the Para Unity podcast. Happy holidays, friends. And we will see you back in black next year in 2024.